Hello beloved souls, thank you for tuning into the Spiritual Podcasts channel. This channel is all about good vibes, positive energy, and meaningful conversations. To keep this space welcoming for everyone, we kindly ask that comments stay respectful, kind, and in the spirit of the content shared here. We reserve the right to delete any comments that don't align with this intention. No hard feelings, just protecting the vibe. Thanks for being here and spreading the light. Please be cautious of anyone claiming to represent Spiritual Podcast and asking you for money, donations, or personal information. We will never ask you for money through comments, messages, or DMs. All official updates and content come only from this channel. If you see suspicious activity, please report it immediately. Stay safe and thank you for being part of our community. If you enjoy the video and its content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Please be kind to other viewers of the channel. The video is about to start.
Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if you've ever had that feeling, that suspicion that the news, the events unfolding, it's maybe less spontaneous reporting and more like a tightly managed production, then you are definitely in the right place today.
Yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into this pretty bold assertion that current global events aren't just happening randomly. They're part of a highly coordinated drama.
Yeah.
A kind of movie, you could say.
A movie playing out on the world stage, yeah. And the sources we're looking at suggest it's designed not just to, deceive, but actually fundamentally to wake people up.
Right, that's the paradox.
Ugh.
So that's our mission today. We're examining these sources that claim to offer this really high-level view of what's going on.
And they assert there's advanced covert technology being used, stuff that manipulates public perception on a massive scale.
And crucially, we want to unpack how certain sort of coded clues and symbolic language are apparently embedded right into the mainstream narrative.
Like little signals.
Exactly. Like nods to those in the know, is how one source put it, indicating there's this hidden operation actually underway behind the scenes.
And we need to be clear, this isn't just about, politics as usual.
No, not at all.
We're dissecting insights into psychological operations, psyops, esoteric signaling, and this really massive foundational power shift that's apparently happening.
Between what these sources call the forces of light, the white hats, maybe their allies.
And the remnants, the collapsing structure of what they term the dark cabal.
It's a narrative about an orchestrated reality. And looking into it requires, rigorous attention, doesn't it? And sharp discernment.
Absolutely. And what just jumps out immediately reading these sources is the sheer sophistication of the deception technology they're talking about.
Okay, let's get into that then. Section 1, the science of the illusion. This core claim that there's tech out there way beyond what the public knows.
Right. Far exceeding anything commercially available or even acknowledged in, mainstream science. Specifically, they talk about artificial intelligence systems. But not just basic AI. Advanced AI coupled with really sophisticated methods for video and image synthesis. Basically, tools used covertly to, and this is a quote, construct convincing illusions.
Illusions that are indistinguishable from reality.
That's the claim. These sources confirm that this capability to fully fabricate a convincing reality, like a synthetic event, a person who looks real but isn't, a whole digital environment, it's progressed so far that, quote, truly seeing is not always believing.
Wow. So forget worrying about Photoshop. We're talking entire video narratives.
Yeah, potentially complex dynamic video, maybe generated by AI systems that are, supposedly decades ahead of the deepfake tools we're just starting to grapple with now.
And that this tech is being wielded in secret.
Yeah.
As a weapon in this information war.
Exactly, that's the frame. And the sources add this really complex layer here, these incredibly sophisticated tools. They aren't exclusive to one side anymore.
Oh, really?
They're apparently wielded by both the forces of light, the white hats, and the remnants of the cabal.
Both sides are using this reality-bending tech.
To project certain narratives, often competing narratives, onto the global stage. It's described as a full-spectrum arms race, where the battlefield is. Well, it's the human mind. It's perception itself.
Okay, hang on. If the deception is that good, if the videos, the images, the very stuff that makes up global news can be just fabricated on demand, how is the average person, scrolling on their phone supposed to tell what's real and what's a completely synthetic simulation? That seems impossible.
Basically, yes. And this needs right to some crucial guidance from these sources. They state, pretty bluntly, it's virtually impossible for an average person to figure out the true details, the real origins of these big, shocking incidents.
Especially things that might be false flags.
Especially those, things designed to shock and awe. Impossible without direct, highly secured clearance. You just can't know from the outside.
So the public dramas we see, they're deliberately confusing.
Often, yes. Intentionally convoluted. Layer upon layer of conflicting information, precisely to distract people, divide them, keep them arguing about the details.
Because we're conditioned to chase down every rabbit hole, right? To find that one single definitive truth.
Exactly. But the sources suggest that rabbit hole is often intentionally poisoned. It's designed to trap us, keep us spinning in these low-frequency states, fear, anger, confusion.
Because those emotions feed the old system.
Precisely. So the advice they give is, well, it's quite radical, they say. Don't pour all your energy into trying to untangle every single surface-level media narrative.
Why not?
Because when you get emotionally hooked, when you engage with that frenzy of fear or anger or division that these stories are often engineered to provoke, you're doing two things. One, you're lowering your own personal energy frequency, your vibration. And two, you're unknowingly feeding the very system of control you probably oppose. Fear, they say, is the lifeblood of the cabal's matrix.
So the recommendation is, what?
Just step back.
Become detached.
Step back, yes, but maybe not detached in a cold way. More like maintain a higher perspective. Become, as one source beautifully put it, a pillar of calm light amid a storm.
But if we step back completely, aren't we just burying our heads in the sand?
Yeah.
Risking being uninformed, manipulated anyway?
It's a fair question. But the sources suggest shifting your focus. It's not about not knowing. It's about shifting from frantic detail gathering to energetic discernment.
Energetic discernment. How does that work?
They explain that the power of this psychological control grid, this matrix, relies on our collective compliance and, crucially, our fear. So your clarity, your balance, your conscious choice to maintain a state of neutrality, or even better, love, that actively withdraws energy from those dark agendas.
So my inner state impacts the outer world.
Directly. They state explicitly that these negative narratives, these fear programs, cannot hold when enough people withdraw their attention, energy, and emotional investment from them. It flips the script entirely. Your inner peace becomes a tool of resistance, a way to dismantle the structure.
Wow. Okay. Let's connect this back to the delivery mechanism. Global communication, the internet, mass media. You called it a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. It cuts both ways massively. On one side, the dark forces have absolutely optimized these channels. They use them to distort reality, sow fear, and keep populations divided.
Through constant triggers.
Yeah.
Outrage clicks, political polarization, manufactured emergencies.
Exactly. The propaganda, the psyops, they've evolved this incredible level of sophistication. It creates what the sources call a vast hypnotic spell. Most people just accept the curated reality as objective truth. The endless scrolling, the echo chambers, that's part of the mechanism keeping the spell going.
Yeah.
But the same network, the same speed and reach of global connectivity also allows for liberation. It lets the light forces, truth seekers, individual citizens share information incredibly fast.
Bypassing borders, bypassing old censorship models.
Right, forming decentralized communities, networks of, enlightenment, you could say. It provides the capacity to build what one source termed a global lattice of luminous consciousness.
So the internet is the main battlefield.
Because it dictates what humanity largely believes is real.
But it's also the tool making this global awakening possible in the first place.
Exactly, the tool and the territory.
Okay, it's clear the narrative we get is highly curated. And that curation, according to these sources, involves planting signals, messages for those who are really paying attention.
Yeah.
Which brings us perfectly into section 2. Because this is where we start trying to decode some of these alleged esoteric symbols and languages, supposedly embedded right in the public drama.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting, digging into the intentionality behind this movie, as they call it. The sources confirm that people paying close attention, truth seekers, noticed a couple of specific keywords.
Keywords that seemed off. Out of place.
Exactly. Overtly odd or out of place, particularly given the context of where they were used. The two big ones highlighted are Master Builder and Valhalla.
And these weren't just random words in an article. The context matters hugely, right?
Immensely. One, Master Builder was allegedly spoken by the main frontman, the figurehead of the U.S. government, during a very solemn public memorial address.
Okay, that's specific. And Valhalla.
That one was apparently used by a very high-ranking intelligence official. Now, in both cases, the context just screams deliberate signaling. It pushes beyond, simple coincidence or weird choice of words.
All right, let's unpack master builder first. What's the traditional meaning? And how is it supposedly being repurposed?
Okay, traditionally, master builder carries enormous weight, especially in certain esoteric traditions like Freemasonry.
Right, I've heard that term.
In Masonic lore, it refers directly to Hiram Abiff, the legendary architect of King Solomon's temple. It's a symbol not just of amazing technical skill, but of a very high level of initiation, mastery, the ability to construct or organize something huge and significant.
Whether that's a physical building,
or, maybe more relevant here, a secret societal agenda, a hidden structure of power.
So if a major political figure uses that specific term, master builder, in a big broadcast speech, it acts like a signal. A quiet nod to those who understand the, occult language.
Precisely. It suggests the speaker or the forces they represent are plugged into that ancient organized structure. It's like an auditory handshake for those who get it.
Okay, but here's where it gets tricky. The source adds another layer, right? About repurposing these symbols.
Yes, and this is crucial. They posit that many of these powerful symbols and codes, which were maybe once co-opted and used primarily by the Dark Cabal, are now being actively subverted and repurposed by the light, taken back, essentially.
But hang on. Wouldn't using the Cabal's own terminology just create more confusion, especially among people trying to figure this stuff out? Why risk making things even murkier if the goal is clarity and awakening?
That's a really sharp, critical question. And the sources seem to suggest the risk is, maybe necessary. Perhaps because the signals need to be instantly recognizable, particularly by those who were previously deep within the old structure.
You mean like the reformed insiders, the white hats who came from that world?
Exactly. So in this new paradigm, master builder can be flipped. It can be repurposed to signify someone who is actively helping construct the new reality. The architect of the foundation for a new era, one based on peace, transparency, the opposite of the old ways.
So using it in that memorial address, it wasn't necessarily signaling allegiance to the old guard.
Potentially not. It could have been, according to this view, a deliberate use of symbolism meant to signal to those working for the light within the system that the complex plan to dismantle the old was being acknowledged, confirmed right from the top, like internal validation for the good guys.
Wow. So it becomes this incredibly dense code. Only insiders, or those with really high-level awareness, can decode it correctly, knowing if it means the old dark plan or the new light structure.
Seems so. It demands serious discernment, definitely. Not taking symbols at face value anymore.
Okay, now let's pivot to the other term, Valhalla. That one immediately brings up Norse mythology, right? The hall of slain heroes.
Exactly. Valhalla. It's Odin's hall in Asgard. It's this magnificent place for warriors who died bravely in battle.
Yeah, they're waiting there, feastings and fighting, until Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, when they rise again to fight alongside Odin in the final battle. It strongly suggests, sacrifice, honor, and battle, a warrior ethos.
Right. So, given that powerful mythological backdrop, why would a modern high-ranking intelligence official invoke that specific term in a public or semi-public context?
Yeah, it seems a bit dramatic, poetic, maybe?
The sources urge us to look beyond just a poetic flourish. When someone whose entire life revolves around covert ops, state secrets, and likely military culture uses a term like Valhalla, it feels less like poetry and more
like a code name or a known reference within a certain group.
Exactly. A symbolic reference understood perhaps only within a specific fraternity, maybe the military and intelligence sector white hats. People who see themselves as warriors in a hidden conflict.
So it's like an homage, a salute to those engaged in this great battle behind the scenes. This covert war the public mostly doesn't even know is happening.
That's the interpretation offered, yes. A nod to the fallen, perhaps, or those still fighting who gave their lives or are risking everything in this high-stakes, almost cosmic chess match.
It really paints a picture of these figures seeing their work in epic, almost mythological terms.
It does, and the essential takeaway from both Master Builder and Valhalla is that the purpose of using these kinds of mythological or historical terms is likely to create those subtle signals or ciphers, messages meant for an inner or esoteric awareness.
It tells us that key figures operating out there in the public sphere might actually be viewing themselves, according to these sources, as active participants, as warriors in this huge struggle for planetary liberation.
Yeah, and we're encouraged to see these clues not just as fun Easter eggs for conspiracy theorists, but as potential confirmation that there's a whole different narrative playing out right beneath the surface of what we're shown.
The fact that they might be intentionally signaling confirms the artificiality, or at least the curated nature of the reality presented to us. Which brings us really neatly to a specific recent case study that the sources delve into. This collective questioning around a political shooting incident, an event that seemed to many observers to have multiple narrative flaws or anomalies.
Yes, absolutely. We shift now into section 3, analyzing that collective wave of questioning around a highly publicized political shooting. A lot of people, online and elsewhere, immediately pointed out things that just felt off. Anomalies that suggested it might have been more like an elaborate script or some kind of staged production.
Designed for maximum media impact, perhaps.
That was the suspicion voiced by many. And the sources we're looking at offer some pretty specific guidance on how to approach these high-tension, high-drama events, especially when your gut feeling clashes with the official story.
What's the guidance? Just trust your gut.
Essentially, yes. They say it's perfectly okay, even necessary, to hold those uncertainties, to listen to that inner doubt when something feels staged or just wrong.
Don't just dismiss it as being cynical.
No, quite the opposite. The guidance is explicitly to trust your intuition and even engage your higher metaphysical faculties.
Like what?
The sources specifically mention using tools like remote viewing, or paying attention to insights from lucid dreaming, or even deep meditation to try and discern the event's underlying vibration.
Vibration, you mean like sensing the energy of it?
Exactly. The idea is that your higher self, your intuition, can sense whether an event holds the authentic vibration of genuine tragedy and chaos, or if it has that lower, discordant, somehow artificial vibration of a deliberate, fear-inducing deception.
That's a very different way of assessing news events.
It is. Moving beyond just intellectual analysis.
Yeah.
And we're also reminded within this context that this whole strategy of obfuscation, of people disappearing, of events not being what they seem, has historical precedent within this larger, covert narrative the sources describe.
Right, people who supposedly died but maybe didn't.
Absolutely. The sources actually take time to recall specific, albeit often unverified, cases or rumors where individuals thought to have perished, sometimes quite dramatically, were later believed or even discovered by some researchers to be alive, having been hidden away for their protection or perhaps to serve a greater plan. It suggests that the apparent outcome of a public tragedy isn't always the real story. Things can be faked.
Okay. Now, let's pivot slightly and analyze the pattern. The operational pattern of past events, widely suspected of being false flags, or F events, as they're sometimes called.
Right.
If we look back at the really big infamous examples, like the destruction of the World Trade Center buildings, 9/11, there was an almost immediate and very profound payoff for those pushing certain agendas, wasn't there?
Undeniably. New wars were launched almost overnight. The Patriot Act fundamentally changed civil liberties in the U.S. and influenced laws globally. New surveillance structures were rapidly put in place. The event acted as this incredibly fast catalyst for a massive consolidation of power and control.
Okay, so that's the pattern. Event chaos, fear to have power, grab new controls.
That's the classic dark agenda template, yes. So this becomes the critical lens for analyzing that recent political shooting incident we mentioned. We have to ask, did that usual pattern repeat itself?
Was there an immediate massive legislative push, a regulatory power grab rush through Congress or Parliament in the emotional aftermath?
Exactly. Did we see sweeping new anti-freedom policies, a drastic curtailment of rights, a sudden justification for a new war or major intervention?
And based on the analysis from these sources, the answer seems to be no.
Pretty clearly no. There wasn't that huge expected policy outcome. No major new laws restricting freedoms directly linked to that event were rammed through. The sources state that this conspicuous absence of the usual payoff for the cabal is deeply significant. It's telling, as they put it.
Okay, so if the payoff didn't happen, what does that suggest?
Well, this absence forms the foundation for what the sources call the white hat hypothesis regarding this specific event.
Meaning the good guys might have been involved somehow.
Potentially. The logic goes like this. If the typical dark agenda requires chaos to immediately yield draconian controls, and those controls fail to materialize this time, it suggests the event was either neutralized somehow after it happened, or, and this is more striking, or that the event itself might have been in some way quietly engineered by the White Hats as a countermove.
Engineered by the White Hats. How would that work? Why would they stage a shooting?
Not necessarily stage it in the sense of causing harm, but perhaps orchestrating the narrative around it, or using advanced tech to create a simulation that looked like a cabal action. The idea is it would be a contained operation designed to appear like a typical false flag, but structured internally to fail in its objectives. Or maybe designed specifically to disrupt a larger, more damaging plan the cabal had in mind.
So it serves to, what, expose the playbook?
Partly expose the playbook, yes, and also maybe to erode the cabal's influence by making the whole narrative surrounding the event inherently questionable, filled with anomalies, thus waking more people up to the possibility of staged events in general.
It becomes a kind of strategic failure for the dark side, even if it looks like they did something.
Exactly. A strategy of controlled demolition, maybe. They allow, or even create, a small-scale, synthetic-looking event. Let it play out, knowing it will be heavily scrutinized, knowing it will ultimately fail to produce the desired dark payoff. And in doing so, they drain the cabal's resources, damage their credibility, and subtly nudge public awareness.
That strategic thinking leads us right to the tangible evidence that got so many people talking, that glitch in the matrix anomaly. The weird visual stuff noticed in the video footage.
Yes, the visual hiccup. Many viewers reported seeing something that just, well, it defied basic physics.
How was the description?
It varied slightly, but the core was an object that absolutely should have been solid, like a person's limb or a piece of equipment, appeared to pass magically through another solid object, like a ghost passing through a wall, but on the news feed. Or maybe debris disappearing unnaturally. Classic signs of poor digital compositing or CGI artifacts.
And this visual contradiction was immediately seized upon by people already skeptical as a telltale sign of digital manipulation, right? Proof it wasn't entirely real.
It was. And the sources we're looking at, they validate this perspective quite unequivocally. They confirm that, yes, certain visual elements shown to the public regarding that incident were indeed synthetic.
Synthetic how?
CGI. Created with advanced CGI, computer-generated imagery, or potentially holographic technology. And crucially, they add that this tech is likely beyond the standard capabilities known to the public.
So, better than Hollywood effects.
Yeah.
Allowing them to create these narratives, maybe without risking real lives. Protecting actual individuals involved if it was, say, a white hat operation.
That's one implication, yes. Fully controlled narratives, minimal real-world variables, or collateral damage. But it begs the question again, doesn't it? Why use synthetic visuals for an event supposedly happening in real life? Why risk getting caught with these obvious glitches? Why expose themselves to that critique?
Yeah, it seems sloppy if you have super advanced tech.
Unless the exposure is part of the plan. This takes us into what the sources describe as a preemptive education strategy, possibly employed by the White Hats.
Educating us about what?
Educating us or preparing us for the real endgame deception planned by the adversaries. Project Bluebeam.
Ah, Project Bluebeam. Okay, we need to spell out what the sources claim that it's supposed to be. The ultimate false flag.
That's how it's framed. Project Bluebeam, according to these sources, is the alleged plan for the ultimate spectacular global deception. Think. A faked alien invasion using incredibly realistic holographic projection systems beamed into the sky worldwide.
Wow.
Or maybe a mass spiritual event, like a fake second coming, again using holograms, maybe combined with advanced frequency tech to induce feelings or voices in people's heads. The goal: to instill worldwide fear and confusion, collapse existing religions and social structures, and usher in a pre-planned totalitarian one-world government or religion under the guise of saving humanity from the fake threat or welcoming the fake savior.
It's designed to be so huge, so overwhelming that humanity just gives up, surrenders its sovereignty.
Exactly, to a perceived external savior or threat, the ultimate psychological operation.
So going back to the smaller, glitchy, synthetic event, how does that connect? It serves as a prep.
Precisely, like a trial run. Orchestrating a smaller, more localized event using similar synthetic methods, CGI, hologram serves multiple critical purposes for the good guys, according to this theory.
Okay, what purposes?
First, it educates and tests humanity. It's a discernment trial. See who spots the fake. See who questions the narrative. This yields, quote, invaluable insight into the collective awareness. It shows the White Hats where the public's perception weaknesses are.
So they can better counter future deceptions.
Exactly. And second, it serves as a taunt. A clear message sent directly to the dark forces, the ones supposedly planning the big Bluebeam show. We know what you're planning. We see your playbook. And guess what? We can do it too. Your tricks, your technological advantages are not absolute anymore. Your ability to control the narrative is eroding.
It's like giving us a small dose of the poison, like a vaccine, to build immunity before the big plague hits.
That's a perfect analogy. Administering a low-level vaccine against future, more virulent deception. Build those critical thinking and discernment antibodies in the population.
And the sources also mentioned how this sometimes pops up in fiction.
Yes. They note how this awareness is often seeded or reflected in popular culture, which can act as a kind of slow disclosure mechanism. They specifically brought up that Spider-Man movie. Far From Home, I think.
Oh yeah, where the villain Mysterio?
Exactly. He uses advanced drone projections and holographic illusions to create totally convincing, terrifying faux attacks. He fools everyone, even the other heroes initially, making himself look like the savior fighting these manufactured threats.
Fiction mirroring reality or predictive programming?
Could be either or both. But the point is, this phenomenon using secret tech to manufacture believable, large-scale fake events is being shown to us, preparing our subconscious minds for the possibility that it could happen for real.
So that preparation is critical, because by the time the cabal, or whoever, might be ready to actually try and pull off a full-scale Project Bluebeam scenario, humanity, or at least a significant portion of it, will have already been exposed to the mechanics of holographic fraud, of synthetic reality. It severely undermines the operation's power to shock, awe, and control.
Absolutely. It's almost like turning the entertainment industry, which has often been used for mass programming and distraction, into a kind of accidental vehicle for preemptive education against the ultimate deception. Ingenious, if that's what's happening.
Okay, so we've really dug into the idea that reality is curated, maybe synthetic in parts, that signals are being sent intentionally, and that there's this active counter strategy playing out, which naturally leads to the biggest question of all: who is actually winning? Who's in charge of the overall direction here? Section 4 seems to concern, well, a pretty monumental shift has occurred.
Yes, exactly. Despite the daily chaos, the ongoing skirmishes, the confusion you see in the news, the core assertion from these sources is that the fundamental balance of power has definitively shifted. It's shifted in favor of the light.
So the White Hats, this deep, complex alliance of positive forces working across militaries, governments, intelligence agencies, different societies, they're now in the driver's seat.
By and large, in control of the overarching direction is the phrase used. They're steering the overall trajectory of this planetary drama now.
Now, that doesn't mean the fight's totally over, right? We still see bad stuff happening.
Absolutely not over on the surface level. But the implication is that the structural integrity of the old, dark power structure has fundamentally collapsed. It's broken.
So the inevitability of the Cabal's ultimate defeat is assured, according to these sources.
That's the strong message. Yes, assured. What we're witnessing now, all the turmoil, the localized violence, the economic instability attempts, the ramped up division tactics, these are characterized as isolated, often desperate, last gasp efforts.
Like throwing punches after the knockout blow has landed.
Kind of, yeah. Running on fumes, on old momentum, rather than actual strategic control of the global levers of power. Those systemic control mechanisms, the sources claim, are no longer primarily in the Cabal's hands.
Okay, and crucial to this claim is that the White Hats aren't fighting this alone.
Yeah.
The sources dedicate significant time talking about support from, well, higher realms.
Correct. This is a key component of the narrative. Support from what they refer to as the higher realms, often naming groups like the Ashtar Command or the Galactic Federation of Light, the GFL.
And these are ETs, angelics. What are they described as?
Generally described as advanced, benevolent, non-terrestrial, spiritual, and technological alliances. They're said to be working very closely with the Earth-based White Hats.
How? What kind of support?
Providing strategic guidance, crucial energetic support, like stabilizing planetary energy grids, and sometimes sophisticated technological countermeasures that apparently operate on frequencies or dimensions the dark forces can't access or counter.
Okay, that sounds pretty out there.
Yeah.
Do the sources give any specific, tangible examples of actions these higher forces have supposedly taken, things that have made a difference?
They do make some significant claims, yes. They assert that the GFL and Ashtar Command have actively averted multiple catastrophic timelines that humanity was apparently heading towards just decades or even years ago.
Catastrophic how? Like nuclear war?
That's one prime example, yes. They claim multiple instances where nuclear weapons detonation was imminent, either through accident or deliberate hostile intent, and was prevented by off-world intervention. Incidents the public obviously never heard about that could have caused irreversible global harm.
Wow. What else?
They also point to the stabilization of certain extreme Earth changes, mitigating potentially massive earthquakes or volcanic events, for instance, to avert truly extinction-level scenarios. And sometimes subtler assistance, like neutralizing harmful technologies aimed at populations, think airborne pathogens, or actively balancing aggressive dark side weather modification attempts.
Okay, that sounds like massive direct intervention. But if they can do all that, why is there still so much chaos?
Yeah.
Why don't they just land on the White House lawn, end the movie, and give us full disclosure right now? Why the limits?
This comes back to a core principle repeated constantly in these sources: cosmic law. Specifically, the law of non-interference and respect for humanity's collective free will and sovereignty.
Earth is a free will zone.
That's the designation, yes. So, overt, undeniable intervention is apparently very strictly regulated. It's rare. It's generally permissible only when humanity is on the absolute brink of self-destruction in a way that violates core universal laws, or maybe if intervention is directly requested by a sufficient portion of the conscious population.
But subtle help is okay.
Subtle assistance is common, they say. Things like inspiring key individuals with insights, boosting intuition across the population, providing energetic protection to light workers, shielding activists. That happens frequently. But ultimately, humanity has to choose its own course. We have to consciously ask for help, collectively desire liberation. The movie has to play out, with our choices driving the plot, so that humanity owns the ending, owns the awakening.
Okay, that makes a kind of cosmic sense. But it leads to this paradox. If the light is winning, if the balance is shifted, why does it feel like the world is getting crazier, more volatile, more polarized, more chaotic than ever? That storm before the calm idea.
Right, that's the critical paradox we're living through. And the sources are clear. This intense upheaval is not a sign that the plan is failing. It's actually a sign that the final clearing is underway.
Like a planetary detox.
Exactly like a detox. Think about it. The sources explain that incredibly powerful, high-frequency light energies are currently flooding our planet. Cosmic rays from galactic center, intense solar flares, the build-up towards what they call the Great Solar Flash.
And we need to be clear, they're not just talking about normal space weather fluctuations here, are they? This is presented as a major, energetic, consciousness-shifting event.
Precisely. It's a fundamental upgrade of the planetary energy field, and this massive infusion of light is, by its very nature, stirring up all remaining densities.
Densities meaning darkness,
yeah,
negativity.
Like stirring a pond that's been still for a long time. All the dark, heavy sediment at the bottom, old collective trauma, hidden corruption, deep-seated fear patterns, unresolved negativity, both personal and planetary, it's all getting churned up, rising to the surface.
Making the waters incredibly cloudy and volatile for a while.
Exactly. It looks like things are getting worse, but it's actually the purging process becoming visible. This purge, this surfacing of the darkness, is absolutely necessary, they say, for the collective transition into what they term higher fifth-dimensional vibrations. You can't build a new house on a rotten foundation.
So the extreme polarization we see, the psychological warfare intensifying, the visible breakdown of old societal structures, all this incredibly intense disruption, it's actually the final, maybe agonizing phase of completion before the dawn will break.
That's the assertion. The old structures have to crumble. The hidden darkness has to be exposed to the light to be healed and transmuted. It's the necessary precursor to establishing the new foundation fully.
And the assurance is, this won't last forever.
The assurance is that this intense phase is temporary. The cabal, the darkness, is being pushed to the surface, flushed out precisely because they are losing. Their hiding places, their shadows are dissolving in the sheer intensity of this incoming light energy. They have nowhere left to hide, so they lash out visibly.
Okay, this brings us to a really crucial point then. If the core battle is really being fought on the level of consciousness, of energy, of frequency, then the most powerful tool available to us, to you listening right now, isn't necessarily marching in the streets or even gathering more information, is it? It's something internal. Section 5 seems to be all about this, our highest priority.
Absolutely. The sources are completely unanimous on this. The number one focus, the highest priority for every individual right now, should be on their own personal ascension process. That means consciously working to raise your own consciousness, elevate your awareness, and actively maintain a high personal frequency, a high vibration.
Why is that so important? How does my personal state affect the big picture?
Because, according to these sources, humanity's collective frequency, the average vibration of all of us together, must rise to a certain threshold. It needs to hit a critical mass.
For what?
For the full truth to finally emerge and be stably integrated by society.
Okay.
That includes full disclosure about everything, the hidden technologies, the off-world alliances like the GFL, the true history, the whole picture. The collective has to be ready vibrationally to receive it without shattering.
That maintaining a high frequency?
Yeah.
That also directly fights the darkness.
Yes. Refusing to buy into the fear, the outrage, the despair, refusing to feed the matrix of control its preferred emotional food is described as the single most effective action anyone can take right now to actively undermine the dark agendas. You starve them of the energy they need.
So this matrix of control we keep hearing about, it's not just external systems like governments or media. It's fundamentally mental. That's the core teaching, yes.
Yeah.
It's based primarily on fear and on our voluntary surrender of individual authority. We're conditioned from birth, really, to believe that someone outside ourselves holds the keys. A government, a religious leader, a scientific expert, the media. Someone else knows better than us what's true or what we should do.
Exactly. And the awakening, the Great Awakening, is that monumental flip. Reclaiming your sovereignty is realizing deep down that no external authority can or should substitute for the guidance of your own higher self, your own intuition, your direct connection to the divine source, whatever you call that.
The sources put it quite poetically, didn't they? Something about the key.
Yes. The key to unlock the cage has always been in your hands, or rather, in your hearts and minds. The door was only perceived as locked because we believed we were powerless to open it. That realization that you hold the key is the cornerstone of the new paradigm they talk about.
Okay, but let's get practical. Because it's one thing to say maintain a high vibration, but it's another thing entirely to actually do it, especially when you're constantly bombarded with stressful news, work pressures, life challenges. It's a real challenge. What practical steps do the sources offer for grounding and effective discernment in daily life?
They offer several key things. It starts with finding balance. Simple, but crucial.
Balance between staying informed and what?
And not drowning in the negativity.
Yeah.
So, yes, stay informed to a degree, know what's happening, but you have to consciously set limits. You must frequently step away from the constant barrage of media, especially the stuff designed to trigger you. Step away from the screens.
You reconnect with what?
Reconnect with the direct experience of life, real life. Time and nature is huge. Genuine, heart-to-heart connection with family, friends, your community, engaging in creative pursuits that light you up, anything that pulls you out of that often toxic, two-dimensional screen world and grounds you in the physical, tangible present.
Okay, balance makes sense.
Yeah.
The second step involves intentional spiritual practice. They specifically recommend something they call sandwiching the day. Sandwiching the day. Like with bread.
Hey, yeah, sort of. It's about consciously structuring your energy field at the start and end of each day. In the morning, before the chaos hits, you perform an alignment. Consciously connect your heart and mind to your higher self, to the divine source. Set your intention for the highest possible trajectory for your day. Fill yourself with feelings of gratitude, peace, love. That's the positive top slice of the sandwich.
Okay, and the bottom slice.
In the evening, before sleep, you complete the sandwich. Review the day briefly. Consciously identify any burdens, worries, negative energies, or attachments you picked up, and then intentionally release them. Hand them over to the universe, to Prime Creator, whatever works for you. Let them go. Don't carry them into your sleep or the next day.
So start clean and clean.
Exactly. This consistent practice, morning and night, creates a kind of protective, high-frequency, energetic field around you. It helps keep the static, the negativity of the control matrix from penetrating your inner state so easily.
All right. Balance. Sandwich technique. What's the third practical step, especially for dealing with all the conflicting information out there?
This is perhaps the most crucial for navigating this movie while staying sovereign. Actively reclaiming and using your intuition, treating it as a finely tuned instrument.
More reliable than external fact checkers.
Potentially far more reliable for personal truth, yes. The advice is, when you encounter new information, especially something shocking or emotionally charged, pause. Don't just react immediately based on ingrained beliefs or media spin.
Pause and do what?
Pause and feel. Use your body, your heart, as a sensor. Ask yourself honestly, does this information feel true deep down? Does it uplift and expand my heart? Does it bring a sense of peaceful knowing, even if the information itself is challenging?
Or
does it constrict my heart? Does it fill me with fear, anxiety, anger, a feeling of being diminished or controlled? Your heart resonance, that feeling of expansion versus constriction, is presented as a very reliable truth detector for you. Constriction signals misalignment, something potentially deceptive or harmful to your energy, regardless of how logically convincing the narrative seems on the surface.
trust the feeling, the vibration over the words alone.
Trust the feeling. Calibrate your inner instrument.
And the idea is, if enough people start doing this, focusing on their frequency, reclaiming sovereignty, using their intuition, it has a cumulative effect.
A monumental effect, according to the sources. Each single person who commits to maintaining inner calm, practicing discernment, holding a high frequency, choosing love over fear, they add a tremendous amount of stable, coherent energy to the entire collective field.
It's not just about saving yourself, it's about contributing to the whole shift.
Exactly. It creates, as one source described it, a lattice of luminous energy enveloping the Earth, a grid of light. And this grid actively weakens the influence of the old dark agendas. It literally changes the energetic environment. So you are not just a passive recipient of information in this drama, you are a literal energy transmitter. Your state of being matters immensely. You are stabilizing the collective psyche, radiating the very frequency required for this new world to finally manifest fully in peace and love.
Okay, this has been, well, truly a deep dive, covering so much from synthetic reality to cosmic support. Let's try and synthesize these key findings as we wrap up.
I think the synthesis is becoming clearer, isn't it? The core message seems to be. The reality you perceive, the one presented through mainstream channels, is highly curated, often manipulated, and sometimes outright synthetic.
Okay, point one.
Point two. The signals, the odd words like Master Builder or Valhalla, the glitches, these are likely real, deliberate markers or communications happening within this hidden narrative, confirming there's more going on beneath the surface.
Got it. Signals are real.
Point three. The great battle, this cosmic chess match between light and dark, is reaching its conclusion. The sources strongly assert that the forces of light, the white hats and their allies, now have strategic control of the overall narrative direction.
So the tide has turned.
The tide has turned. The inevitability of the old cabal structure's final defeat is assured, even if the final clearing process involves significant visible turbulence and chaos on the surface. That chaos is the result of the light winning, not the dark.
That's a crucial reframe. And we should also acknowledge, this has been going on a long time. There's a real weariness among people who've been following this, the light warriors, who've spent years navigating this information war, battling confusion, doubt. It's exhausting.
It truly is. The sources acknowledge that profound weariness. The saga of secrecy, deception, and struggle has been incredibly long and draining for so many.
But there's reassurance offered.
Immense reassurance. The consistent message is that the end to this multi-millennial saga is genuinely in sight now. Full disclosure, the open arrival of help, the shift into a new era of planetary peace, truth, abundance, it's much closer than the current external chaos might make it seem. The relentless force of truth, powered by this incoming cosmic light, simply cannot be stopped at this point.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you listening right now? As we stand in this moment of intense change, how do you step into this final act effectively?
I think the final provocative thought the sources leave us with is incredibly empowering. It's this. You are not merely the audience passively watching this grand cosmic play unfold.
We're not just spectators.
No, you are also actors in this grand play. You have a role to perform through your choices, your energy, your actions. And even more importantly, the sources say, you are the authors writing the next act.
We're writing the future.
The pen, powered by your conscious intention, your focus, your high vibration, is firmly in your hands. You collectively decide how this chapter ends and what the next one looks like.
So the call to action is, move forward with courage.
Move forward with courage, yes. With faith in the positive outcome, even when the world looks dark. And crucially, with your own finely tuned intuition as your primary guide through the remaining fog of illusion.
And the promise is that these current trials, the turbulence, they won't last.
The promise is they will soon become the stories of triumph that you tell to future generations. Stories about how humanity navigated the Great Awakening, reclaimed its sovereignty, and remembered its connection to the light.
The ultimate outcome, then. A new Earth.
A new Earth reborn in peace and love. That outcome, the sources assure us, is absolutely assured. Our role now is simply to keep shining our individual lights as brightly as possible until collective dawn breaks fully and the last vestiges of the illusion fall away entirely to reveal the sovereign, brilliant truth of who we really are.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Until next time, take care and have a wonderful and blessed day.